Okay, so these days everyone is either going, we're so back, or the MCU is dead when a new Marvel project comes out, and quite frankly, I'm sick of playing that game. That said, this is a film that I've been really unsure of leading up to it. Instead of being a team of supervillains like in the comics, much like the Suicide Squad, the Thunderbolts in this film are more so a ragtag collection of side characters from Phase 4. And Ghost. The Black Widow movie was flawed but decent, Falcon and Winter Soldier was a misfire, and does anyone even remember Ant-Man and the Wasp? When your roster draws from those projects, Marvel's future and longevity is really in question at this point, and you have to market your film by saying, hey, people who worked on A24 movies worked on this film in an absolute cinema trailer. Comes off kind of desperate. Most of these characters haven't shown up in 4 years, Ghost hasn't been seen in 7, and this closing out Phase 5 as opposed to closing out Phase 4 makes very little sense and also feels like we should have had this film a lot sooner. Yelena's a character that I've never really had a problem with, but I've always appreciated her character more when they give her less comedic writing and take her down a more serious route.
Please don't say that. It was real. It was real to me. You are my mother. The best part of my life was fake. And none of you told me.
She's the star of the show in this one, and Florence Pugh turns in yet another great performance as the character. Winter Soldier is not in the film nearly as much as I expected him to be. I assumed he was gonna kind of be like the team leader in this film, but this is clearly Yelena's movie. It's not to say he's not in the film at all, it's just he's sparsely used in the first act when he's doing his whole congressman thing, which, by the way, how is it that he has too much baggage to be Captain America because he was a war criminal and brainwashed Russian assassin, but for whatever reason, he's perfectly capable of running for Congress? Oh crap, now people are going to be talking about politics in the comments. But it becomes more prominent about halfway through the second act, which is good because the team needs him for the full dynamic to work. By the way, Bucky does the Terminator 2 shotgun reload, and it was so freaking cool. US Agent is honestly a lot cooler in this than he was in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, okay, he's a jerk, but like, I would rather have hot-tempered a-hole John Walker as opposed to crazy John Walker.
Do you know who I am? I am Captain America.
Ghost is kind of shoved into the background for a lot of the film and isn't as prominent as the other three that I just mentioned, but I did enjoy her a lot more in this film than I did in Ant-Man and the Wasp. I just wish that her powers were a little bit more useful in this movie. Red Guardian... Okay, look, I love David Harbour. I think he's a great actor. I love him in Stranger Things. I love him in Gran Turismo. I especially love him in Violent Night. But Red Guardian just makes my eyes roll so hard, man. I'm just so sick and tired of MCU humor at this point, and when it comes up in any capacity, I just immediately check out. Like, it's clearly still working for other people, because the crowd I was in, they were laughing along with every freaking line of dialogue that he had, and then there's me, the contrarian, just sitting there sighing with exhaustion. Just Red Guardian would be cooler to me if he wasn't such a bumbling oaf and he was more like he was the prologue of Black Widow. I did a whole video about how every team these days has a big guy who's an idiot, so check that out if you want a further explanation on that. That said, credit where credit is due. He does have some genuinely endearing moments with Yelena. I just wish we had more of that and less of...
This team can be the heroes on the Wheaties box. With a little... I
would much rather have him be the tough Soviet authoritarian of the team. Considering he represents what the Soviet Union stood for and John Walker represents this warped perspective of American idealism, it would have been really interesting to see them, butt heads on screen to show the themes and dynamics of their nation's stances clashing. Although maybe that would have gotten too political. Crap, now people are going to be talking about even more politics in the comments. As for Val, she's always been kind of a weird character, popping up in small doses in Phase 4 projects, and in here it's kind of more of the same. I mean, we get more time with her, and she's basically the Nick Fury, Amanda Waller of this team in a way, kind of, not really. I felt like a lot of her scenes were just really redundant. Like, she's got this assistant named Mel who got way more screen time than I ever thought she was going to, and a lot of their scenes go like this. Valentina, something happened that we weren't expecting because our plan didn't work. What? But my favorite character in this film was Sentry. I'm somewhat familiar with him in the comics, more so his power set than his actual origin, but I was really looking forward to him in this film. Louis Pullman plays the character so well, and I'm sure Steven Yeun would have done a decent job when he was initially cast, but then he bowed out because of... Honestly, I don't even know if that was actually legit or not, but I'm just glad they landed on Lewis Pullman because he is excellent in the role. At first, I was worried he was just going to be another goofball because of how his character starts at the beginning of the film, but he progressively works in a lot more seriousness and this darkness to the character that I really enjoyed. He's essentially the vessel for the overall theme of mental health in the film, and I thought they executed it extremely well. Plus, his suit looks perfect, and the void is terrifyingly awesome. Action start to finish was really fun. Also, my buddy pointed out how the initial fight scene of these characters interacting for the first time was very reminiscent of the intro to PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but still, it was cool. Film looks great, has a really unique style that makes it stand out amongst other MCU projects, and for the most part, I would say there wasn't a bad shot in the film. Like, there was nothing where I'm like, oh man, that's pretty bad CG, like I thought about Captain America Brave New World, or even some other films from the past couple of years. It feels like there was actually some time put into the cinematography and visuals of this film, and it wasn't just some corporate made-by-committee movie, and that's worth championing. Now, as for the writing, my least favorite part of the film was the first act, because it just felt like there was a lot of cobbled-together exposition dumping just to remind you of who these characters were because we haven't seen them in such a long time, or, you know, maybe you didn't even see the projects that they were associated with, and it felt like they were just trying to get it out of the way as quick as possible. If I had to imagine what the pitch meeting for this film was, it would probably be something like, we'll just have characters exposit dialogue about their past to catch people up, you know, the people who haven't seen those other projects, or maybe they just forgot because it's been so long. Is that going to be enough? Yeah, because we'll put a lot more jokes in this part of the film, so they'll be laughing so much they won't even notice.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
But yeah, that really concerned me at the start with the constant jokes and the surface level dialogue, but as the film progresses, it gets a lot better. Overall, I had a good time with this one, but here's where I choose to be annoying. Why didn't Bucky call Sam Wilson for backup? Why didn't Bucky call Wakanda for backup? Why didn't Ghost call Ant-Man for backup? If all this happened in New York, where was Spider-Man? If all this happened in New York, where was Daredevil? If all this happened in New York, where was the Punisher? If all this happened in New York, where was Doctor Strange? If all this happened in New York, where was Wong? Does this take place before or after Daredevil Born Again? Why weren't Zemo, Red Hulk, and Punisher on the Thunderbolts team when they've been on the team in the comics before and they all canonically exist in the MCU? Huh? And maybe if Bucky did reach out to Sam, he wouldn't bother helping him because Bucky wasn't there to help him fight Red Hulk because he was too busy with his campaign or whatever. Also, I guess Zemo's in a Wakandan prison, isn't he? Oh, right. There's one other character I didn't talk about. You know the drill. If you don't want to have anything ruined for you, skip to that time code in the video and you'll bypass all the spoilers. And we're getting into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Spoilers begin now. I mean, I think we all knew that Taskmaster was gonna bite it considering she's hardly in any of the trailer footage, but I did not expect it to happen that quickly. I mean, to be fair, before she entered the scene, I did lean over to my buddy and say, hey, what do you bet she doesn't even make it out of this room? And I need to stop doing that because the last time I did that was Deadpool 2, when the X-Force is jumping out of the plane, and I lean over to my friend and I'm like, why do I get the feeling they're not gonna make it to the ground? And sure enough, in both cases, I was right. But dude, Olga Kurylenko got less screen time than Slipknot in Suicide Squad. Freaking Red Guardian's limo had more screen time. She shows up, knocks Yelena to the side, mask pops open, I'm not here for you. Mask closes, a few fight moves later, and then bang, Ghost pops a cap in her forehead. So like, that helmet wasn't even bulletproof? And they immediately loot her body and then torch the room, so there's no going back. You could tell Marvel took that Black Widow backlash to heart, and the way they disposed of this character was personal. Meanwhile, my buddy next to me was howling with laughter like the freaking Joker in our theater, which during that scene was dead silent. I seriously don't even know why they bothered bringing back that character. I guess maybe to tie up that loose end, and maybe now we can actually get the real Taskmaster, Tony Masters, but at this point, I'm not really holding on to that hope. Oh yeah, and the Thunderbolts get their name from Yelena's Pee-wee soccer team.
Can't call ourselves that. God, thank you.
Like, really? But surprise, this isn't really the Thunderbolts. They're just using that name to cover up the fact that this is really the new Avengers. There's an asterisk in the title. Remember that? That's why. That said, it is cool to have a new Avengers team, but what? Now we got like 3 super soldiers, a Black Widow, whatever Ghost is, and Bob who can't even use his powers anymore? Like, alright. And I mean, at least they're self-aware about it, right? Like, they're making jokes at the end with the news articles and everything about, like, the heard around in the world, B-Vengers, all that stuff. So, obviously, this is not meant to eclipse the Avengers. This is meant to be like, oh, crap, what are we supposed to do now type deal. And I can get on board with that. And I guess this explains why they're all in Doomsday, except for Taskmaster. But man, is it funny that they were trying to make Sam Wilson the face of the MCU, and instead, he's not even leading the new Avengers anymore. Ouch. You asked me, this should have just been called Dark Avengers. Would have made way more sense too, and probably would have been a better marketing tactic. But seriously guys, this is a good time, and I'm glad to have a Marvel film that, while not perfect, I am happy to recommend to people. So go see it, and as for a score out of 10, I'm gonna give this one an 8. So Thunderbolts, let me know in the comments what you thought about it, whether you loved it, you hated it, or you're somewhere in between. Please don't go at each other's throats about this if you're going to disagree with someone, though. This is just a movie after all, not the most important thing in the world, but I would love to hear what your opinions are regardless of where you lean. If you like this review, like this video, subscribe if you want more videos like this in your feed, and hit the bell so you know when I'm uploading. And if you want more from me that isn't YouTube exclusive, you can click the links in my description. It'll take you to 4 social media platforms where I post tons of reviews that don't always make it onto this channel, and the ones that I do post on this channel, I post on those platforms long before I edit together a video. So check that out, and until next time, guys, God be with you, and take care.